Look at the half-moon-shaped guns on the wrist. It's none of these guys.
Life finds a way. Jurassic Park wasn't just a dinosaur blockbuster. It was a cinematic earthquake that redefined filmmaking forever. What audiences didn't see was the chaos behind the camera: mechanical failures, near-fatal accidents, script rewrites, and an editing war that almost derailed the movie. Today we're diving into 20 weird facts about Jurassic Park that will make you see Spielberg's classic in an entirely new light. And wait until you hear the bonus fact, a chilling twist that connects the film to real-world tragedy. Let's begin. The T-Rex that went rogue. The animatronic T-Rex was supposed to be a marvel of engineering, but on set, it turned into a nightmare. Built at full scale and weighing over 12,000 pounds, the dinosaur's latex skin absorbed water during the famous rain sequence. Suddenly, the T-Rex would come alive when no one was ready, randomly twitching, jerking, and roaring without warning. Crew members swore it felt like being trapped in a haunted house. Spielberg himself admitted that people were afraid to eat lunch near it. It wasn't just a prop. It was a mechanical beast with a mind of its own. What audiences saw as awe-inspiring realism was, in truth, sheer terror for the cast and crew working under its unpredictable reign. The hurricane that shut down production. During filming in Hawaii, production was slammed by Hurricane Iniki, the most powerful storm to ever hit the islands. Cast and crew, including Spielberg, Laura Dern, and Sam Neill, were stranded in hotel ballrooms as winds tore through Kauai. Richard Attenborough, however, calmly slept through the hurricane. When asked how, he replied, "My dear boy, I survived the blitz." The storm destroyed sets, delayed filming for days, and forced the crew to improvise. Some of the chaotic storm footage actually made its way into the final cut, blurring the line between staged disaster and real-world catastrophe. Jurassic Park became a survival story both on and off the screen. The Raptor Kitchen scene was even more dangerous. The Raptor Kitchen scene terrified audiences, but for Ariana Richards and Joseph Mazzello, who played Lex and Tim, the fear was very real. Inside those costumes were stuntmen, thrashing around in confined spaces with metal claws and heavy tails. The animatronic heads were hydraulically powered, capable of snapping shut with bone-crushing force. Richards later admitted she was absolutely petrified, knowing one wrong move could lead to serious injury. Spielberg deliberately encouraged the children's fear to capture authentic reactions. The result was one of the most suspenseful scenes in movie history, built on genuine risk and adrenaline. Jeff Goldblum almost didn't survive the script rewrite. In Michael Crichton's novel, Ian Malcolm doesn't survive. Early drafts of the script kept that fate intact. Jeff Goldblum was devastated when he learned his fan-favorite character might not make it past the first film. But Spielberg saw something electric in Goldblum's quirky delivery and insisted Malcolm live on. The rewrite not only saved Malcolm, but paved the way for The Lost World and his eventual return decades later in Jurassic World. What could have been a one-off role became one of the most iconic characters in cinema, all because Spielberg trusted charisma over canon. The T-Rex attack was so loud, it shook the crew. When the T-Rex smashes into the Ford Explorer during the first attack scene, the sound wasn't added later. The animatronic actually crashed into the vehicle on set with terrifying force. Crew members described the ground trembling with each slam, and actors screamed not from acting but from genuine fear. The car's glass was never supposed to shatter, but when it did, the children inside were caught off guard. Spielberg kept rolling, capturing raw terror that translated perfectly to screen. The sequence wasn't just movie magic. It was chaos captured in real time. The raptors' voices came from unlikely sources. The raptors' terrifying screeches weren't the result of high-tech sound design, but a bizarre blend of animals mating. Sound designer Gary Rydstrom revealed that the signature raptor scream came from tortoises mating at a zoo. Added layers of horse snorts, goose hisses, and dolphin shrieks gave the predators their eerie realism. Spielberg reportedly laughed when he first heard the raw recordings, then admitted it was perfect. What audiences assumed was cutting-edge Hollywood audio was, in fact, primal and deeply uncomfortable to listen to in its raw form. The unsettling truth? Every time a raptor hunts on screen, the sound you hear isn't violence, it's reproduction. That disturbing twist gave the dinosaurs an organic edge, grounding them in something both natural and unsettling. Samuel L. Jackson's death happened off-screen for a gruesome reason. In the original script, Samuel L. Jackson's character Ray Arnold was supposed to have a bloody on-screen death. Jackson even flew to Hawaii to film it, but Hurricane Iniki wiped out the set before shooting could take place. Spielberg had to rewrite on the spot, leaving Arnold's fate implied rather than shown. Instead, audiences only see his severed arm. Jackson joked later that he was robbed of his big death scene. Ironically, the absence of his on-screen demise made the reveal even scarier. By leaving Arnold's end to the imagination, Spielberg heightened the horror, proving sometimes what you don't see is more terrifying than what you do. The Dilophosaurus spit wasn't just movie magic. The infamous scene where the Dilophosaurus spits venom at Dennis Nedry was both cinematic flair and dangerous improv. In reality, the dinosaur never spat venom. It was Spielberg's invention. To create the effect, the crew rigged a paintball-like system inside the animatronic's mouth. Actor Wayne Knight didn't know when or how much slime would actually hit him. The first time it fired, the goop nearly blinded him. Knight later joked that the goo tasted like milk gone bad. What plays as horrifying and slimy on screen was, behind the camera, a brutal, gag-inducing stunt that left Knight drenched for hours. Spielberg wanted audiences to squirm, but it was the actor who suffered most in that sticky mess. Richard Attenborough hadn't acted in 15 years. When Spielberg cast Richard Attenborough as John Hammond, it was a gamble. Attenborough hadn't acted in a film in 15 years. He had retired to focus on directing, winning Oscars for Gandhi. Yet Spielberg convinced him to step back in front of the camera. The result was a performance full of warmth and hubris, balancing Hammond's childlike wonder with ruthless ambition. Attenborough confessed the role was exhausting, especially during the hurricane shutdown, but his calm presence on set steadied the younger actors. Ironically, the man playing the architect of chaos was often the one keeping the cast sane in real life. His performance became one of the film's emotional anchors, reminding audiences that Jurassic Park was not just about monsters. It was about human dreams gone dangerously unchecked. Spielberg delayed Schindler's List for Jurassic Park. Here's the hook. Go ahead and like and subscribe because what comes next shows just how high the stakes were. Spielberg originally planned to shoot Schindler's List before Jurassic Park, but Universal executives urged him to make the dinosaur film first, fearing another studio might snatch it up. Spielberg agreed, but it meant juggling two wildly different projects back to back. He finished Jurassic Park and immediately flew to Europe to shoot Schindler's List, often editing dinosaur dailies at night while preparing Holocaust scenes the next morning. Spielberg later called it the most emotionally draining period of his career. The two films couldn't have been more different. One a blockbuster spectacle, the other a haunting historical drama. But together they cemented 1993 as Spielberg's year of genius. Ariana Richards won her role through a scream test. Casting the role of Lex wasn't about acting chops. It was about who could scream the loudest. Hundreds of young actresses auditioned, but Spielberg wanted someone who could truly project terror. Ariana Richards later revealed she won the role after a scream test in which she shrieked so loud that the studio security came running, thinking something was wrong. Spielberg laughed and said, "That's our girl." What audiences didn't know was that Richards' piercing scream nearly derailed the sound system on set, forcing technicians to recalibrate microphones just for her. It wasn't just acting. It was raw, bone-chilling fear vocalized into one unforgettable sound. The Gallimimus stampede nearly crushed the actors. The Gallimimus stampede sequence looks like harmless CGI, but for Sam Neill and the kids, filming it was terrifying. The actors had to sprint downhill while crew members drove giant rigs with poles and cardboard dinosaur cutouts at full speed around them. Timing was everything. One wrong step, and someone could have been seriously injured. Spielberg shouted directions in real time, yelling, "Faster! Fall now!" to match where the computer-generated dinosaurs would later appear. Joseph Mazzello admitted he tripped more than once and barely avoided being trampled by the rigs. On screen, it looks like a clean escape. Behind the scenes, it was a chaotic ballet of near misses and bruised shins. The iconic water ripples were a nightmare to create. The trembling water in the glass when the T-Rex approaches is one of the most famous shots in movie history, but it nearly broke the crew. Spielberg wanted it to resemble the way a guitar string vibrates when plucked. After endless failed attempts with air pumps and motors, sound designer Michael Lantieri finally taped guitar strings under the dashboard of the car. He then plucked them while filming, creating the perfect ripple effect. Spielberg reportedly shouted, "That's it," when he saw it. What seems like a simple detail was a 2-day battle with physics. The result? A subtle visual that told audiences, the monster is coming, and nothing will stop it. Spielberg deliberately kept the dinosaurs off screen. Audiences remember Jurassic Park for its dinosaurs, yet they appear on screen for less than 15 minutes in total. Spielberg deliberately restrained their presence, inspired by Jaws. He knew anticipation was scarier than saturation. Long stretches of dialogue and reaction shots built suspense until the dinosaurs erupted onto the screen. Industrial Light and Magic begged for more CGI, but Spielberg held firm. He wanted restraint, not overload. That gamble turned Jurassic Park into a masterclass in suspense, proving that showing less created more fear. Ironically, the absence of constant dinosaurs is what made them feel so real when they did appear. The sick Triceratops was a last-minute addition. The sick Triceratops scene wasn't in the original script. Spielberg added it to balance spectacle with tenderness. The massive animatronic required 10 puppeteers to operate its breathing, blinking, and shifting weight. Laura Dern admitted she cried when she first touched it. It felt alive. But behind the camera, the crew was sweating, crammed inside the dinosaur, struggling to coordinate its subtle movements. The sequence forced audiences to see dinosaurs not just as monsters, but as living creatures worthy of empathy. It wasn't just about fear anymore. It was about connection. Spielberg believed that moment of compassion grounded the entire film, reminding us why Hammond's dream was both beautiful and dangerous. Spielberg cut himself out of the ending. Few people know Spielberg originally planned to give himself a cameo in Jurassic Park. Early drafts had him voicing a worker who announces over the radio that the island's systems were back online. But after seeing the dailies, Spielberg scrapped the idea, deciding it broke the film's immersion. He admitted later, the dinosaurs were the real stars. I didn't want to pull the audience out of their world. Instead, the ending leaned into pure survival. The helicopter escape, the battered faces, and John Williams' soaring score. By cutting himself out, Spielberg preserved the intensity of the finale. Not ego, but restraint defined his decision. And it's part of why the ending remains one of the most powerful in blockbuster history. The T-Rex roar was built from 5 predators. That iconic T-Rex roar? It wasn't one animal, it was 5. Gary Rydstrom built it from a baby elephant's squeal, a lion's growl, a tiger's snarl, an alligator's rumble, and even a whale's breath. Blending them created a sound both familiar and alien, something primal audiences couldn't quite place. Spielberg insisted the roar feel like the earth itself was tearing open. During test screenings, the sound shook theater speakers so violently that some chains upgraded their audio systems just to handle it. The T-Rex wasn't just a visual spectacle, it was an oral assault. That roar became cinema's most terrifying sound, echoing across playgrounds, Halloween costumes, and theme parks for decades. Bob Peck's arm nearly got crushed. Bob Peck, who played Muldoon, had one of the most intense on-set experiences. During rehearsals for his death scene, the Raptor animatronic lunged too close, snapping its hydraulics with enough force to break bone. Crew members yanked Peck away at the last second. The incident rattled everyone. These machines weren't toys, they were dangerous. Peck later joked, "A clever girl indeed." Spielberg scaled back the Raptor's lunge to protect the actor, but the near accident stayed with the crew. Watching Muldoon's brutal end on screen, audiences saw raw terror, but few knew how close Peck had come to a real-life injury. The CGI nearly didn't happen. When Spielberg first envisioned Jurassic Park, the dinosaurs were supposed to be stop-motion models. Phil Tippett, master of stop-motion, was hired to animate the creatures. But when Industrial Light and Magic showed Spielberg a test of digital dinosaurs running, the director was stunned. Tippett famously muttered, "I think I'm extinct." Spielberg kept him on as dinosaur supervisor, guiding movements and realism while ILM handled the CGI. The result was revolutionary, the first seamless blend of digital creatures and live-action footage. If not for that bold pivot, Jurassic Park might have looked dated within years. Instead, it redefined cinema, making CGI the new frontier. Spielberg barely directed the Raptors in the kitchen. By the time they shot the Raptor kitchen scene, Spielberg was already preparing for Schindler's List. He handed much of the directing to second unit director Stan Winston and his team. The sequence was storyboarded to perfection, with Winston's animatronics and stuntmen bringing the horror to life. Spielberg would swoop in, adjust shots, then step back out. It became a rare collaboration where the director loosened his grip. Ironically, this outsourced moment became one of the most iconic in the film, proving that Spielberg's true genius lay in assembling teams that could execute his vision flawlessly. Sometimes the scariest scenes aren't micromanaged. They're trusted to masters of their craft. Jurassic Park inspired real genetic experiments. Here's the twist. Most fans don't know, Jurassic Park didn't just inspire blockbuster filmmaking, it influenced science. After the film's release, paleontologists and geneticists received a surge in funding to explore cloning and DNA extraction. One group even claimed to have found ancient DNA in amber-trapped insects, an eerie echo of Hammond's fictional park. While no dinosaurs were ever recreated, the movie blurred science and imagination so effectively that real labs pursued the dream. Jurassic Park wasn't just entertainment. It shaped cultural and scientific ambition in dangerous ways. The legacy wasn't only cinematic, it was a spark that pushed humanity closer to its own ethical edge. Jurassic Park wasn't just a movie about dinosaurs. It was chaos captured on celluloid, storms, machines that misfired, children in danger, and breakthroughs that rewrote cinema. What we saw was spectacle. What happened behind the scenes was survival, invention, and near disaster. Like the T-Rex, it roared into history, and it still echoes today. If you loved uncovering these secrets, smash that like button, subscribe for more Hollywood revelations, and remember, life always finds a way.